Hey guys, I'm going live now. We got about 5 minutes till showtime. It's going to be, hopefully you can hear everybody. I had 3 guests, so I kind of set this up different today. Want to introduce quickly Tracy DiFlorio and Jim Vanbrederode. And they will be here, as well as Marcus C. Williams, which you guys have seen and heard a bunch of times. But we got about 4 minutes till showtime, so hang tight. You can use any of the headsets. All 3 headsets work. Just make sure you put one of them on, because the speaker will go off once I click your microphones on.
Yeah, right. So, yeah, I guess we gotta call the guy.
Stay safe. Stay tuned, y'all. Singing to you, darling.
Hello, this is George and Good Buddy Dish in the state of being and remembering the future. You can find us every Monday, 4 to 6 p.m. on WRFC Rochester, 106.3 FM, and streaming on the internet. In this age of
Really? Well, I thought Zink, you realize you have a firehouse dedication to your town Monday? You know that one.
If you enjoy my show or any other episode, you can simply go to our website, RochesterFreeRadio.com, and click on the big orange button. With all of our locations, a couple of bucks a month, it will help us to keep the music and talk flowing.
Hey, welcome everyone to The Divide. Every Monday at 3 p.m. I'm Brian McKenzie, and we are here to expose real extremism in politics and in the media. It's made possible by CJM Full Service Remodeling. Call Chad 585-414-8241 for all remodeling needs. Well, we got a big show today. Right now we have 2 guests, but we are expecting a 3rd guest, and it's exciting. We got here's our 3rd guest right now, as he's walking in, and a man who needs no introduction, Marcus C. Williams. He is a candidate for state assembly. We also have Tracy DiFlorio, who's a current county legislator, and she's a candidate for state assembly, and retired Gates Police Chief Jim Vanbrederode, who is running for state senate. Welcome everybody. Thank you guys for coming and spending this hour with me. I know you guys are super busy, but we have just over 5 weeks to go till election time, I believe, and in my opinion, this is going to decide whether our state, especially, and our city, continues its decay and continues its increase in violence. And what's going on down there now while enabling, you know, criminals and ultimately crushing the law-abiding citizens of Rochester. So we'll see what goes on, but I want to start with a question for all of you. And I'm sure you heard the mayor and Annabella too, county executive, suddenly recognized last week that this whole bail reform and what's going on with it is not working. And these criminals are out after 3-4 times getting caught with a gun. And the mayor even said last year we had 81 murders and not one was done with a legal gun. They were all illegal guns. I mean, this is something obviously we've all known and been preaching for almost 3 years, but while it's nice to hear them finally say that, I mean, do you guys think they're a little late to the party, or what's going on here? How about a chief?
It's absolutely disgusting. Look at the wake-up call came on January 2nd when 14-year-old Julius Greer was our first homicide victim of the year. What would have changed all year between this and 2021? Nothing. So this whole year was predictable. We're marching right for the record books, and nobody seems to even care. It's a shame. It's disgusting. And then to think that because a 3-year-old got shot, that now everybody's up in arms. Well, that's pathetic.
Yeah, it seems like they took that as an opportunity for a photo op over by the Valero and all that. It was suddenly, okay, we got to get out there and show our faces on Clinton when, I mean, this has been going on. And it's not like we've been losing a person here and there. We've been losing teenagers and kids for years now. I mean, I believe we had 28 or 29 murders in 2018 and 19, somewhere around there, in the low 30s. And that just jumped up in 2020 and 21. It's no coincidence that when, you know, those are when the laws started changing towards the criminals, towards enabling criminals. Tracy, what do you think?
I 100% agree. Our elected officials all of a sudden are now, you know, close to an election year, going into an election year next year, suddenly have, like, you know, had a come to Jesus moment, and they're suddenly, you know, out there speaking against the policies that their party put into place. But are they advocating for the legislators to go back to Washington during this, or I'm sorry, Albany? Over the summer, all of a sudden they quickly rushed everybody back, you know, into to Albany to pass more restrictive gun laws.
Mm-hmm.
Those same individuals could go back to Albany today and do something about the laws that they previously passed, but they won't. They're all talk, no action.
Yeah, it seems like they're so worried about changing what you can call an inmate rather than work on things that really matter. Marcus, what do you think? You think they're a little late to the party here, or well, what's going on? I know you've dealt with this issue for a long time.
Well, first off, Tracy stole my good line there. Come on, Jesus. So yeah, no, I can appreciate what they're doing, right? Like, I can appreciate the general concept of them stepping up and them saying something.
Of course, yeah.
Now, here's my question. Do you mean it, or are you full of malarkey? Okay? And this isn't for me to, like, say, oh, I dislike this person or that person in particular. But let me tell you something. All of our state assembly members that cover our areas in the city and the surrounding areas were down on North Clinton. All of the state senators were down on North Clinton. Okay, I don't know if Morelli was there, but it's funny that he wasn't there too, because you see all of these people that are on the state level who sat by idly while these laws stayed in place and added additionally harmful laws to the whole.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of them.
Oh my goodness, it's phenomenal. And I'm running for the 137th district, which covers literally where all of the crime is: North Clinton, Jefferson, Chi-Li, Lyle. Where all the crime is in my district. My assembly person has not spoken up once, and he wants to come out now on North Clinton and be like, oh, where have you been the last 2 years? It's insane. And the chief lives in the same district that I'm working to represent, and he sees the same stuff that I see.
Yeah, it seems like it takes, you know, some kind of crazy act a 3-year-old get. I mean, it's disgusting. People are losing kids left and right all over. You know, I mean, yes, it's horrible that a 3-year-old got shot, but it's awful when a 17-year-old gets shot and killed. I mean, it's crazy. Marcus, how about the fact that kind of ruined this for me, this question, but how about the fact that Joe Morelli wasn't there, and most of the city council hasn't joined in on this as well. This whole, we need to stop this bail nonsense, and this less is more, because we're seeing parolees and people out on bail, for the 4th time with a gun charge. You finally can hold them because they shot someone and killed someone. Oh, great, So, I mean, by the way, 85% of our residents here in the city, they don't like this nonsense either. They don't like the crime. They want these people held. What do you think about the fact that I don't think Morelli's going to come out and say anything about it?
Well, here's the deal. If he's Mr. Big Shot, right, and he cares about the community so much, and again, this is not a rebuke of him. This is me just stating what he said out loud. He cares so much. Where is the caring enough to step up and say something? And with city council, we know that we've got a slew of people that are on there that are these neo-fascist socialists that want to defund the police, and now they want to put half the police force, 60% of it, 80% of the police force, over on North Clinton. Now it's over here, the crime is deaths, shootings, stabbings on West Main, on Jefferson, on Chi-Lai, and we see all of this crime in other areas because they've pushed to destabilize the police, defund the police, and disincentivize policing.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody's saying anything. And I guess, and I hate to say it like that, but I guess now they're like, oh my goodness, this might have political whiplash on us.
Mm-hmm.
So now we'll come out and say something. Say something for what? What about, and here's the thing, when are they going to talk about the drugs or the overdoses?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, when are they going to talk about the gangs? What are you doing about this to help disincentivize this behavior? Come on now.
Yeah, I mean, that's what drives the violence. I mean, I know these trap houses are just going to move a couple blocks over. That's kind of the question, when they load it up. But Tracy, our state's kind of made it so, which is crazy, that a woman who carries a legal gun, who gets arrested and because she's in a sensitive area, yet she broke the law, but she gets a big bail put on her. But if you have an illegal gun, no matter where you are, you're just let out with an appearance ticket. That's insane. I mean, how do you feel about that, and what can we do to change that?
It's absolutely wrong. The laws that were quickly and hastily put together, again, by our state legislature, after I think 4 hours of debate.
In the middle of the night,
in
right?
the middle of the night, do nothing to protect the citizens of this community. And as we've seen, crime didn't stop because they passed a law that says legal gun owners cannot cannot be in a sensitive area.
Yeah.
All it did was hurt, again, law-abiding citizens. We've had to cancel Civil War reenactments because they take place in parks, which is part of our living history. My son, was engaged in Civil War reenacting when he was younger, and it was where he learned and developed his passion for history in our country.
Yeah.
So it's shameful that these events have had to be canceled. To your point, women are not allowed to carry in certain areas. If you go out hunting and don't properly lock your vehicle or your gun in a vehicle and you stop to go get breakfast afterwards, you could be charged with a felony, to your point. These laws need to get fixed, and the only way to do that is to vote in November for people that are going to be committed to going and changing those laws.
Yeah, I think that's a huge thing, and I do think that maybe this is going to go to the courts and it's going to get overturned. But you know what they're going to do again? The same thing, because you do not win a Supreme Court case with Kathy Hochul or New York State, because they'll show you it's ridiculous, and it's
costing law-abiding citizens money to fight these things out.
Exactly, and more importantly, the people hurt the most are the ones in poverty-riddled areas who. They can't afford a gun now. They can't afford to get a pistol permit. And it's ridiculous because they're the ones that need it the most. 100%. Maybe crime wouldn't be what it is if people knew that there were some law-abiding citizens carrying guns. But they don't have to worry about that too much now. So it make it impossible in, what do they call it, densely populated areas. They've always done that in New York. What is that? That's a city, obviously. And they make it almost impossible. But you know, it is what it is. It's
No guns for you if you're black or poor.
exactly, but you know, they do it in a slick way. So to slide it in. Hey, Chief, you spent your career in law enforcement, so you know, all the officers in the world out there aren't going to change anything if the criminals get let out. If you arrest them, you can arrest them left and right, but if they're out, well, what's going to change? I mean, we brag about taking hundreds and thousands of illegal guns off the streets, yet what matters is the person that carried that gun. I mean, how do you feel about this, and what can be done in the Senate?
Yeah, we keep harping on the violence, you know, the guns. But, you know, Marcus and I were down on Dewey Avenue last week, and the untold story is the open season right now on retail businesses.
Yep.
And so there is a national store that took the time to build on Dewey Avenue, invest in our city, and every single window is boarded up and it's open for business. And they have to do that because of the crime. Because when the police come and catch the burglar in there at 2 o'clock in the morning, we used to arrest them and send them to jail, and they'd be down there for months, you know, on $20,000 bail or something like that. And now it's an automatic appearance ticket. If you're burglary is an appearance ticket. Well, the same thing with all these catalytic converters, you know.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And you know, a lot of these, your big department stores, especially the home improvement stores where the ticket items are big, it's open season because, you know, you literally, if you call the police and they come, they're going to write the report or write the ticket, and the person leaves and goes on to the next store, so there's no way to stop them what's going on. Right. That's why, hey, look, people have got to come out and vote on November 8th. If you think this is all crazy, and there's only one way to change that, you have to elect people like the three of us who are pro-law and order, common sense. That is how you change the process. And it's all done in democracy, and it's all based on November 8th. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Are people really fed up, and are they going to take the time to vote?
Yeah, I said it's funny because I was in Home Depot with my father and my brother because we do remodeling, and it was this morning, and I said, called my dad over. I'm like, Dad, look at this. I'm like, they got to lock up every single power tool now. I'm like, they got cages upon cages around. I said, because look, you got those right there and the exits right there. I said they don't allow their employees to go out and get license plate numbers because they're afraid they're going to get shot or something, and that's a huge liability. But I mean, it's crazy. And Marcus, you don't see any stores like that. They're never going to build in the city.
Oh,
I mean,
why would you want to? Why would you want to? You see, this is a problem. We've got all of these businesses, especially small businesses, right? The small businesses are the ones that aren't able to absorb so many losses, unlike giant national change. So we've got all of these small businesses that are being run out of business, not only because of the crime, the break-ins, the robberies, and stuff like that, but because of the perception that they're unsafe to go to. And people just don't want to be in an area where they feel unsafe. And unfortunately, people don't want to go shopping in the stores in their own neighborhoods because they feel like they are unsafe. And this has to end. And I really sincerely hope that everybody comes out November 8th and comes out and votes. Because you got to. At this point, if you don't see what's going on, and my concern, I suppose, is that a lot of people don't know that the election is even going on. Because the news media here has kind of silenced it. Usually they start in about August or before that talking about something, but they've been very silent. It's like it's almost like they want the crime and violence to continue to sensationalize so that they can get advertisement money.
It's the same reason that you're not seeing anybody on the left doing debates, because they don't want the messages out there right now. They don't want to showcase what's happened over the last couple of years, because it's devastating to them, and if they figure if they stay silent, they're going to get the people to go to the booth and pull D. You know, but I don't think you're going to see that, because I mean I wrote on one of the social media sites the other day. I saw talking about crime, and there was everybody commenting. They were just complaining, saying this needs to end, this needs to end. People of every race, gender, creed, whatever. And I commented. I said, well, November, if you vote for the same people who are in power right now, don't come back on here and complain anymore, because that's what's caused this. That's what's done this. I mean, that's the policies that you thought were so just we needed them so bad in 2020. This is the outcome. We've seen the outcome. We've seen more, black and brown people die from your policies in the last 3 years than we've ever seen before. And that's what you were worried about. That's what the party was worried about. So it's crazy to me that...
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. Well, listen, I want to get to all three of you real quick, and I want you to talk about who your opponent is. Are they supportive of such laws? And then your agenda. We don't need to talk about that. We'll talk about your agenda if elected, and talk about yourself a little bit. So let's start with Tracy.
Thanks. So my opponent is Harry Bronson. He has been in the position for over a decade. And you asked a question about whether he supports these policies. He's actually a sponsor of the less is more law, which allows parolees and early parole release, as well as restrains the hand of the probation officers for violating someone that's out on parole. So essentially, there's no more rules anymore.
There's no more parole, just go.
Correct. And it's kind of like, I equate it, I tell people all the time, it's kind of like with your children, right? I have 3 kids. You give them a rule. If you don't do this, this is the consequences. But if you as a parent don't back those consequences up, they continue to escalate, right? Exactly. They're going to do worse and worse things, and it's exactly what we've seen, which is, again, feeds into that, why you're seeing not only people out on bail, but people out on parole that are repeating some of these violent crimes. So that's my opponent. And when you ask what we're running on, obviously crime has to be fixed. So when people ask me what my #1 issue is, that's it. Because if we don't get a handle on that, our community's gone, right? We cannot continue this lawlessness. And it's not just the violent crime that you're seeing in the city of Rochester, but it's also out into the suburbs. It's spreading everywhere. I was out campaigning in Henrietta, and there were 2 sheriffs on the street. We're like, what the world's going on, And for a little further up, someone shared with us that their significant, or their boyfriend, whatever, was a sheriff, and there had been a home invasion there, which is why they were on the street, broad daylight. This was like at 5 o'clock, 4 or 5 o'clock. And there had been an armed invasion across the street the week earlier. So it's happening everywhere, and we got to get a handle on it, or else nothing else matters. The other big piece is our businesses, right? So more and more regulations keep getting thrown on top of our small businesses. And to Marcus's point, the Wegmans or the Walmarts of the world could perhaps absorb some of this, but our small businesses can't. They can't even keep up with the regulations that they're probably now in violation of because they didn't even know they existed. And so we've got to get a handle on that. We've got to get relief back to our small businesses so that we can start to revive and rebuild our economy. We've got to bring back manufacturing. And then education is the other huge issue. So our school systems are failing our children.
That's for sure.
And we've got to start doing things differently. So.
Yeah, we had. We were a thriving city at one point with manufacturing and Delco and Kodak and all that. It's just, nationwide crime is the #1 issue for sure. People want to be safe, and one of the shows I listened to during the day said, if you're a rural community with only a couple thousand residents, if you had 1 murder, in 2019, and now you have 4 or 5 a year, that's a big deal. That's a big change. So it's not always the absolute number, it's the, per capita. And we know that because Rochester is, wow, I don't even, why, it's crazy. But Marcus, how about you?
Oh my goodness, listen, so, as we know, crime is very high on my list to address. These laws that they have out there need to be amended. But I feel like they tell us that, oh, well, crime is important, but we need to make sure that we're talking about not harming people that are poor or black. And to me, that seems to be a daggone lie, right? Because what's happening? The prison system is terrible. We've got, the Democrats are in power. They have the state house with Kathy Hochul. She's governor. They've got the governorship, They've got the state house, Senate. They've got the Senate, and they've got the state assembly. That's why I'm running for state assembly, because we need better representation, right? So in this, they have never once talked about comprehensive prison reforms. So they call them correctional facilities. They call them rehabilitation facilities. You're telling me that you actually care about people, and you tell me that they disproportionately lock up black and brown people, but you're doing nothing to help with reintegration services and making sure that jails aren't a total crap show. And that's a very big thing that needs to be addressed. But more than that, the schools, I don't know if you saw the news this morning.
Yeah.
They said that the schools had an audit, and they found that the teachers and the administrators and the whole district was conspiring to change the grades for students so that they didn't have so many people failing.
Yeah.
That's destroying our future. It's also hurting businesses, because now businesses are going to attempt to hire people.
Yeah.
They'll get workers to come in there and say, oh, I've got my high school diploma, when they're functionally illiterate. They're not able to fill out the application. Don't ask them to do plus or minus.
Exactly.
And this is where we are right now. And all of that feeds back right into the crime loop, okay? And right back to schools, businesses, all of it. Right now we've got the city working on projects for 2035, 2050, and I've been talking about this for years. And now somebody finally said the quiet part out loud. Did you read Cooney's article in the City magazine?
No.
So he said basically that his concentration is making sure that he
Yes, I need to hear this.
Is making sure that he can make the city ready for people that are coming from California and other places escaping climate change. Well, I live here now.
Right.
I've lived here my whole life.
Well, they want us out of here. The Republicans got to go down in Florida.
It's not just Republicans, though. It's everybody in the working class.
Yes.
It's everybody in the working class, everyone in poverty. They want to push us all out. And if we want to see something different, we're going to have to vote different this year. Vote Roe B, you guys. We got to vote Roe B. Because if this continues in another, 2035, 10, 13 years, none of us will be here.
Yeah.
That's the plan.
I'm glad you brought up the whole, the prison thing, because it seems like with who's in power right now, it's either, black or white. It's like you either let everybody out or you gotta you lock them up. It's like, no, there's gotta be, there's a gray, open your eyes, there's a gray area to things, guys. I mean, it's like, there's things we can do besides just throwing criminals back out on the streets. Like you said, you gotta reintegrate people correctly, or else it's just gonna be a cycle. It's just gonna be a continuing cycle of people in the criminal justice system, and then their kids are in the criminal justice system, and it continues. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy. Chief, tell us about who you're running against and what's going on.
So 2 weeks ago, we were invited to a major church on East Avenue in downtown Rochester, and you were right. Tracy's opponent wouldn't even agree to come. My opponent, that would be Jeremy Cooney, he's only been in office a year and a half. He agreed to come, as did Marcus's opponent, Damon Meeks. And none of them even bothered to show up the day of the forum, which was extremely embarrassing
Wow.
for the people that put this on. They had chairs set up, name tags, meals for them, and the third one didn't show up either. They are afraid to confront us because they realize it. So my opponent, I got a mailing today at my house, and the whole mailing was on abortion on steroids. He is a big supporter of abortion on steroids.
Like full term, third trimester, all that
Everything is
stuff.
a go, green light. Yeah, they're pro-choice as long as you choose abortion.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what's crazy.
We'll pay for everything. We'll give you. They got a bill pending now with his name on it. Expanding the Family Leave Act, right? So someone who's had an abortion, you can get Family Leave Act, and they're trying to get that passed. But no, he's just an extremist when it comes to abortion stuff. When they go back in January, if he goes back, hopefully he won't, because I'm going to win. He's really big into this New York Health Care Act, right? New York would run the health care for all New Yorkers. You would not have a choice. They would outlaw any other insurance companies. And New York will run it, and New York will pay for it. And I have no idea how any of that's going to work.
That's how is that going to work?
You want Albany controlling your health care?
I don't want Albany controlling a bathroom visit.
My license plates are still peeling. You gotta figure that out. You gotta run the healthcare act.
Right.
It's scary stuff that's coming. If people don't.
Apparently they're not pro-choice on that issue.
Yeah, right. Not for healthcare, they're not.
Healthcare,
Or the COVID shot.
Yeah.
It's crazy what they want to do. You know, my opponent's into that, sponging records and so anyway, this weekend, you know, because of the 3-year-old being shot, you know, Channel 13 called me and him because they have to be equal time, and wanted our opinion on what was going on up in Clinton Avenue and bail reform. So his comment on the bail reform was, well, in his purest way, you know, bail reform is working because people are not in jail, you know. So,
I mean, that's insane. Of course it's working.
It's working to destroy
well, I guess if that was your,
Yeah.
forget about public safety, but I guess if your goal is to make sure nobody's in jail, I guess you've done that.
Well, I remember last year, or maybe 2 years ago, I remember Mayor de Blasio down in New York City. He's on TV, and he's in front of a crowd, and he's bragging about, we have the least amount of people in jail we've ever had in New York City. And literally under him on the ticker, it's like, New York murders up 110%. I mean, it was literally at the same time he said it. I'm like, wow, that couldn't be any more perfect timing right there.
So Brian, when was I last on your show? What was it?
A couple weeks ago. A few weeks ago.
3 or 4 weeks. Do you realize how many murders have been since I was here?
I don't know the exact number, but I know there's been
it's got to be
uptick.
12 at least.
Yeah.
And that's only been like 3 or 4 weeks. And you know, under Cuomo, when he took over, they closed like 25 prisons across the state. You know,
Crazy.
shutting down these statewide prisons. They closed our 4th Street Correctional Facility, and you know that's a big victory to them. You know, and
Yeah.
it's all about saving money and putting everybody back out on the streets. And so this is what you have today. So when we all get elected, this is some of the stuff that we have to immediately address to restore calmness on our streets. And peace is we've got to restore, you know, punitive punishment when you do something that's crazy, you know. And I said, as I said on Channel 13, look at this whole bail reform was sold under a false pretense.
Yes. Yep.
I remember them all sitting there saying, "Oh, this is just for petty little minor offenses, a little shoplifting, you know." And then the law gets passed, and there's more felonies on there than there were misdemeanors. And you're like, oh my god.
Child offenses. I mean, I'm just like, wow. I'm like, it's terrorism. It's crazy.
No, but you're right.
Yeah.
Extreme. Right? They call, you know, LeBron is an extremist. You know?
Right? You're an extremist. I said, I laugh so hard when I see this.
Zeldin's an extremist.
Yep.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
And what's an extremist is when you guys go the other way and we don't. No common sense, and so we
common sense.
We have a total. But the problem is, these are people dying. This isn't like we're just losing property. We're losing lives because of this craziness, and they all hide now. Everybody was on TV last week except any of our state representatives. And that was so embarrassing. And if that doesn't, as you as a voter, if that doesn't upset you to go to the polls and vote, that these guys are so spineless and girls that they wouldn't get on TV last week and address our community. I mean, give us a message of hope, will you?
Yeah.
Say something, you know.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with saying we were wrong. You know, we need to change, or we need to change things a little bit. There's nothing wrong with that. But I mean, I swear, it's like no politician wants to say that.
It's politics over people. It's
yes.
what we have.
Well, and if they want to say it, they need to follow it up by doing it.
Exactly.
And getting back to Albany and taking care of business.
Exactly, and it's crazy because you see. This was all passed. All these laws were done in a very sensitive time when emotions were high. You know, there was a racial divide because of what was going on, and they passed these things like the chief said under a false pretense of racial justice. But really, racial justice, you're helping criminals. You're not helping any black or brown or minority people. There's a big yes, exactly. It's a trick. It's a big difference between you're actually hurting those such people who are in these communities. Because, like I said, over the last 3 years, more people have died than ever before in this country from murders, and that's crazy. I mean, Marcus, you see this all the time, and you say, you know, you go down to when there is a crime, like at the Dollar General, or was that what it was? Family Dollar that day. You know, tell us about some of that.
So we had an armed robbery at a Family Dollar. The assailant was killed in the robbery attempt by a police officer. It was like insane, right? Because we had people, I'm out there, I'm broadcasting live. I'm like, listen, this is a serious issue for not just businesses, employees, and stuff like that. Who wants to go and work at a place where they're getting robbed all the time? You know what I'm saying? Nobody. And I don't know how many people out there listening have had armed robbery or have had a gun pointed at them, it's not a pleasant experience, and it's not something you want to be fearful of on a daily basis. So I'm out there talking about what's going on and what needs to be done, that we need to address it with resources and reintegration and stuff like that. And here comes the socialism Gestapo, okay? Ashley and her bestest friend, everybody's favorite city council person, Stanley Martin. Okay, which she's been quiet as a mouse.
I was just gonna say, I haven't heard from her in a while. So
we haven't heard anything from her. Our city is on fire. Stuff is burning to. Is people's children are dying on a daily basis, and they're not saying anything. They're not, and their job, their role, as politicians that are elected on the city level, is to advocate for us to the next level of government. My state assembly person, the guy I'm running against for the 137th Assembly, his name is Demond Meeks. We covered the whole town of Gates, everything from Lyle back to Genesee Park, and then we also covered the center city and everything on the northeast from East High School back up to Norton and then back around St. Paul. It's huge, but it's also where all the crime is, Brian. Like, this is crazy. And these people that are our elected officials that are supposed to represent us have the nerve to not do anything. I couldn't believe when Stanley Martin came in my face like she wanted to fight me. Now, if I would have jumped on her, I'd have been the one in the wrong. I'd have been the one in the wrong. Of course, So they start, they're very cantankerous. They want to start issues. They call Jim and Zeldin extremists. They preach these false narratives to us. And then they deliver us nothing while waving a flag of moral superiority and moral virtue, and it's all fakakta lies. Yeah, it's all virtue signaling and nonsense. It's funny you just did it again to me, because my next topic was the extremist. I had to bring this up. You know, that's what I feel like. That's the Democratic playbook for this year, not just here, but nationally and statewide. Yell, he or she is an extremist or a radical. I saw one, calling LaRon Singletary. I literally almost fell down laughing when I saw that. I was like, if he's an extremist, I don't know, what everybody else is. But I know you were called that, Chief, and that you were radical or extremist, and it's laughable when I think, I look at you three, and it seems like you're using common sense when it comes to the approaches here. But what do you say to that? Is that going to work? By any means? I feel like they don't have a lot to go on and run on this year, so it's kind of abortion and extremism. That's why the media is silent.
Yeah, it's a fear tactic, but you got to hope everybody knows, like me and LaRon so well from our past jobs and careers, that they know us, and that I'm hoping this is all going to just backfire on them. Because people are going to say, really? You're calling Jim Vanbrederode and LaRon Singletary extremists? They were some of the nicest guys you've ever watched.
I don't think you could be in your position, your previous position, as an extremist. Right?
No, we wouldn't have lasted all these years, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Tracy, have you been called one yet?
I have not, but I do want to kind of just go back to one of the things you were talking about. Unlike probably many of the other politicians that represent that district, I've walked the district. I haven't gotten all the way down yet, but north of Main Street, I pretty much walked that district.
What is your district exactly again?
So my full district is the towns of Raga, Chilai, Henrietta, and then the south wedge of the city, all the way up to Clifford. Okay. So from Clifford to East Main, that chunk of the city, I've pretty much walked the entire district. And I've had people, person after person, say to me, where are all the police? Where are they? And I'm like, well, they defunded them. There's 100 police officers short. With all the, stuff going on right now, that they can't get out and patrol the streets. And
they retired at...
People, people have said to me, you used to see cars that at least would be going by, and and it would kind of keep things at bay. They're not there anymore because they don't have the manpower. I've had, moms say to me, I can't let my kids play outside. The people in that district are hurting. They're suffering. Mm-hmm. They're hiding in their houses. A few of them have said, I'm trying to get enough money together so I can leave. Yep. They want to move out of the area. People are trapped. And person after person has told me, you're the first elected official I've ever seen here. Yeah. So they take their vote for granted. Exactly. They're not in there talking to to these individuals to know what they need, what their concerns are, what their issues are.
Yeah.
And they're just dumping this nonsense and this rhetoric on the rest of us, and that vocal minority is controlling our city right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's we're at a time in 2022 where the politicians seem to go to Washington or Albany or the city or the county or whatever and speak their own opinions instead of finding out what their constituents want and need.
Mm-hmm.
They don't care anymore. It seems like this is what I want. It doesn't matter what they want. I mean, and we've seen that at a federal level when, up in Wyoming and you know what happened? Got voted out.
Yep.
She got voted out and by a large margin too, because, and if that could be done, at every level, we'd be so much better off. We'd be so much better off. I think, like you said, the Democrats take the vote for granted in the city and in other areas, and I'm sure there's areas where Republicans take a vote for granted too. But what we have to do as people is, not do that. Go find out what they need. Like you said, you're walking the street. That's what you got to do. That's what you got to do, and hopefully people see it. People see it.
Vote for the person, not the party.
Exactly. Marcus, have you been called extreme?
I've been called a lot.
You are kind of extreme, though.
I've been called a lot of things. None of them too pleasant. I'm still waiting to be called a child of God. So that's what I'm waiting for.
Yeah, you're gonna be waiting.
All of my policies are very, very straightforward, simple, cost efficient, future focused, and forwardly planned. So if you actually want to talk about me, nobody can compete with my policies. On policy, pound for pound, like my opponent, Lon Meeks, he won't come out and debate me. I'd ruin him.
Yeah, I mean,
because with my policies, not only are they sensible, they're direct, they're impactful, they're things that people actually need and to be addressed. They don't offer us any of that, so they're attacking people as individuals, not their policies.
Yes.
Or they'll say, "Oh, well, you're a member of this party, and so you're bad because we don't like this specific person, or because the party's bad." Well, I'm a Republican. I identify as a conservative futurist, which means I have more traditional values. But I know that what we've done in the past won't always work.
of course.
But look, Republicans freed the slaves. Civil rights, Republicans. Environmental protections, Republicans. Okay, it's these type of things that people are like, oh well, Republicans are bad. To who? Because I mean, the last president. I know so many people didn't like the last president, but here's the deal: the first president in my lifetime that did not actually bend over black people.
Yes.
You know, so I'm fighting for my people in my district, all of them. I'm black. Very clearly.
Really?
I grew up in poverty. I'm just on the other side of it right now. I'm trying to keep moving forward, and I'm working to represent my whole district, not just black people, not just white people,
correct.
not just Republicans. I'm working to represent everybody, the very diverse group of makeup of my neighborhood, my community, my whole district. Like I said, we go all the way out to Gates and all the way up to northeast and cover all of the southwest. It's a huge, diverse collective of cultures, people, individuals, thoughts, and views, and I'm working to represent all of them. So November 8th, get out and vote Marcus C. Williams, vote for the other great candidates we have here, vote Row B, and make sure you check out my website, Marcus4Rochester.com. That's Marcus 4Rochester.com, and pitch in however you can.
Yeah, I noticed. I think Tracy said something about regulations, and I think that gets flown under the radar. I really do, because regulations are huge.
Yes.
Not just local, but federal and state. And being a conservative, you're small government, right? So
Yes.
you want, and I think the last president removed a lot of regulations, and that got kind of overlooked by a lot of people. They didn't realize how it allowed people in areas of poverty to open businesses, to find careers, and actually become an entrepreneur. Whereas as soon as those regulations get thrown back on, each regulation is going to cost money, time. It's stuff that you can't do if you don't have the funds to do it, if you don't have deep pockets. And I really think not only in locally, but in the oil industry, in the energy industry, in all industries, regulations play a huge role. And I think locally we have way too many regulations, and I think that's something that I'm glad you guys touched on, because a lot of people don't. But to me, I mean, if you talk with this whole extreme thing and radical extremism, if you talk about an agenda that's extreme, you gotta look towards the progressive agenda, and it's like it kind of got pushed over, like that's not extreme anymore. It's like we used to all, as people who had common sense, whether you were a Democrat or a Republican, we were all kind of based in the middle somewhere, and we looked at people on either end, either extreme end, as nuts. They're crazy. If you're a far right person, yeah, you're crazy if you're doing some of that stuff. If you're far left, you're crazy. But it seems like the far progressive left has kind of been seen as it's okay now. If you're far left, you're okay, but if you're far right, you're not, which has kind of changed the whole dynamics of the media, because it's not, I don't think people think that as much as the media preach that, and it's shown like that. But it's locally, I know the mayor wants to do a lot of programs for the violence. My opinion is all programs in the world won't work until you get the criminal element off the street, because this generation of youth their minds are getting polluted by the criminals. You walk. I always say, if you could be a straight A student, right? You're a senior, you're walking, but your mom's struggling. She can barely feed her kids. Your house is in foreclosure, whatever, or your rents, whatever. If you hear from someone on the street, hey, if you do this, you run this, you can make, you make some money, help your mom out. Sounds tempting. I don't care if you're a good kid. I don't care if you're a straight A student. That is tempting to a kid. And what does that do? Next thing you know, he's in the criminal justice system, and he's no longer in the direction he was before. And I think that's horrible. I think we need to work on one thing. The biggest thing is, if your bathtub's overflowing, you don't start taking a cup and getting water out. You first turn off the faucet. It's that simple, and that's not done enough. And it's. Do you think the programs that the mayor talks about will work at all if we don't?
It's an absolute joke. How's the let's pay the shooter, not the shoot program going?
Yeah.
I did not get my
What's that costing us?
That's crazy.
How come there's no updates?
Right? Who's making the most money on that?
Tracy, did you
Who's
get
leading
your
the
check?
way?
But they keep chasing the same messages over and over. I mean, I love some of these people. Don't get me wrong, it's good. Victor Saunders gets on, tells us the same story, and everyone keeps telling us how good things are going, and you're like, well, why are we having this press conference? Because the three of them just got shot. So
Yeah.
won't sit there and telling us how things are going great, and we're having a good day. But I don't know. A lot of money has been given to those programs, and I look at. Okay, but then I need to see a report. I need to see
Exactly
some accountability of what was that money spent on, and show me something. Because if we're just throwing money at it, it makes us feel good that we brought five, and that's what our Rochester delegate hangs their hat on, this crime control. We brought $5 million to Rochester with the Urban League, and with the Pathways to Peace, and with the Shoot Don't Shoot program. Great, but somebody show me some results. You know what I mean?
Yes, exactly.
I mean, people are sitting here like, well, when's it going to kick in, right?
Yeah, right.
In the meantime, I'm telling you, we're heading right for the goal line on setting this new record. For 2022,
we are.
And it's like nobody's even trying to stop. And I know. Look, the biggest analogy is like, how is it we could send 100 troopers down to Puerto Rico, but we can't?
I couldn't believe that.
How is it the Small Business Association on Clinton Avenue has to go hire private security because we don't have enough police?
Mm-hmm.
Someone explain that.
There is no explanation. I mean, there's really one explanation for it, and there is no explanation for it other than that common sense isn't being used and hasn't been implemented in about 2.5, 3 years. Tracy, I keep coming back to crime because I think that's what people in this area, especially, that's what they're talking about. These people, like I said, a lot of them can't afford to move out. They can't just go get an apartment in the suburbs. They can't go get a pistol permit. They can't go buy a $600 rifle. I mean, they're scared. They're scared when bullets are ripping through your house. I mean, we've seen how many houses get shot up randomly, more than ever. It's crazy.
It's a miracle more people aren't dead. To be
Yes.
honest with you, with the way the guns are flying around here. But again, that problem isn't just a city problem.
Mm-hmm.
It's moving outward. So even if they move out to the suburbs, it's not going to cure the problem.
Someone got carjacked in Hilton the other day. I mean,
yeah, and to the chief's point, just creating another program is not going to fix the problem. We've got to look at what the root cause is of some of these crimes. And to your point, there's poverty, there's the failures in our school system.
Fathers in homes, I think, is a huge issue.
Yep, 100%. And I have my old boss used to say that his mother, I'm going to quote this because it's so true. In order to be successful, a child needs three things: someone to love, something to do, and something to look forward to. And at least two of those components are missing in so many of our youth lives. They don't have anything to do, so they're getting themselves in trouble, and they don't have a future to look forward to. So they're grabbing what they can, that instantaneous gratification, because tomorrow's not guaranteed for them, and we've got to figure out a way to fix that.
When I said fathers in homes, I'm not putting down mothers that are trying very hard by any means, but and it's more for boys than it is girls when you see the statistics. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy different. And I know down in Florida, Governor DeSantis and Tony Dungy, who was a football coach, they just put some programs together to work on that, because it's the left talks about root causes so much. Well, that is the root cause of all root causes right there if you look at it.
That's lack of support system. I worked in social services a number of years ago when I first got out of college, and back then I dealt with pregnant parenting teenagers for a while. And almost everyone that came in with a grandma. And they had that foundation. They had that solid person. But even back then, the mother was missing, right, from that equation.
Yep.
But it was the grandma. And I'm like, what's going to happen when that grandma's gone? Because there's no new grandma to replace her. And that's what we're seeing. They don't have that foundational family structure anymore.
Just so you guys know, that's Marcus's phone that keeps making all that noise.
Okay.
Chief, you, I think when you were here last time, we hit on the fathers in the homes, because I had that sign that was here. It's something that, I mean, like I said, it's a root cause of things, and it's not to knock mothers, and it's not to say a kid can't be successful if he's raised by his mom. I mean, it happens. We're just saying the overall odds are stacked against you big time if you're raised with no father in your life. And I mean, it's just the truth. You see that, especially in the inner city, but it happens all over, correct?
Correct. The best scenario, we were talking about, I was at this event the other day, and the guy talked about the American eagle, right? It has a left wing and it has a right wing. You can't fly with just a left wing, and you can't fly with just a right wing. It's both wings. And it's kind of like raising a child, you know what I mean? Yeah, you can have one parent in the house, and that's, this is not the best scenario. In fact, so tomorrow night at 7 o'clock at 1 Favor Street in downtown Rochester, there's going to be a big open house convention talking about the Fatherhood Initiative.
Oh, wow.
And Mike Hennessy puts that on, and Pastor Don Stevens is going to talk about that whole issue of fatherless homes and how that affects the development of children who don't have two-parent homes.
Oh, that's great. I hope, when is that again?
Tomorrow, Tuesday at 7 o'clock, 1 Favor Street. Not sure the name of the building there, but it's right there on Favor Street.
Great. Now, Marcus, here's the issue I got. When Governor DeSantis and Tony Dungy started talking about this issue several months back, you had the progressives and BLM calling it white culture, and that's racist what they're saying. And it shook me. I was like, how is that white culture or racist? It's simply trying to give people the best opportunity to succeed in life. It's that simple. I mean, what can be said about that?
I mean, do you want $1 or $2? Which one's more helpful?
Right.
I mean, look at it like this. So, growing up as a latchkey kid myself, a lot of times, if you have only one parent, they're not home. Or if they're a working parent,
yeah, they're trying. I mean,
they're doing their best that they can, and they're not able to be around. That's why you need two parents. And then if you look at the economy now, you're not able to survive off of one income.
No.
And this is terrible because the inflation is out of control. You've got the gas prices going through the roof. The Treasury Secretary is like, gas is going to go up extraordinarily high this winter. I don't want to hear that. That's not what I want to hear. Yeah. You go buy some meat. Meat's out of control. If you can find the meat that you're looking for, right? That's another issue. And people have to struggle and make decisions by themselves, and unfortunately, they don't have another counterpart. But that doesn't even go back into the effect on the child.
Yes, correct.
Because they need both of those influences on them. What do they say, that you don't get made by one person, right?
Yep.
You know, and this is kind of what the real serious issue is. A lot of people are lacking fathers in the homes, and they don't have other positive male role models outside of the house. I'm very big on mentoring programs and stuff like that, but more so, I'm for the restoral and renewal of the nuclear family unit. That's so important, and that's something we need to focus on. To your note about DeSantis and stuff like that, I had a lady the other day, some liberal. I had made a comment about crime. Not even about abortion, right? But she said, "Oh, you're for abortion." I never said that. This is not. I'm not for abortion. I never said this. The conversation was about crime, right?
Yeah.
But she's like, "Oh, you prefer to make sure that women keep the children that they don't want, and that's just causing more crime and violence and poverty." I said, "Hold on." I said, did you just literally just say that you should kill black babies to lower black on black crime and lower poverty? This is the thought in their head. This is really what they think internally. She said the quiet part out loud.
Exactly.
And this needs to be addressed. And it's going to be up to us to revamp our culture and society in a way that works for everyone, because this is not working.
But I mean, between the way the welfare state is set up, I mean, it kind of rewards single parent homes instead of the other way around. And then like you said, they add that, the abortion thing. It's people don't want to say the loud part or the quiet part out loud, but they're starting to actually. Running a little short on time, so I got to get to the end of this here. But locally, I think one of the biggest issues is like I said, is obviously going to be crime for sure. One of the other biggest issues is actually getting your personal names and messages out. Letting these people know that there is another option. That there is, if you want change, don't vote for the same people who have been in power since 1987, because nothing's going to change.
That's right.
And it's they put I found it interesting. They put on the United States House of Representatives map. They said the 25th district of New York is solid blue, as solid blue as they get. And I'm thinking, that's interesting, because that's all they did was look at the history of the votes. That's all they did right there. Because if you're at the ground level, that's not true.
Right.
That's not true. That people vibe and like Laurent Singletary. That he's connecting with people, and that his message is resonating with people. And I love it. And I think we're going to see a surprise all the way around, because I just think that for once, this happened this isn't new. This happened in the early 90s. The crime got out of control, things got too crazy, things went too far, that way, and it had to rebound the other way. And I think we're going to see, something special this time. But you guys got any closing messages? It's Tracy.
Well,
gotta go you first.
You said in terms of getting our message out, please check out my website is tracydiflorio.com. Pretty easy to find me. Certainly send me an email if you have any questions at tracydiflorio@gmail.com.
I'll put it up on my Facebook.
And I also have a Facebook page as well. So, I always leave at the door the message that I love my community. I decided to run this year because it just breaks my heart to see what's been going on the last couple of years. And all of us are public servants. We all got in this because we care and love our community. So we'd appreciate your support.
Well, Chief.
Yeah, I agree with everything that was said today. Ditto to everything. Look, we're all here for good intentions. We're not here because we decided we want to be state level legislators.
You already had a career.
Marcus has never held office. I've never held office. We are here with 100% pure hearts, number one. And number two, we are at a turning point. The state and nation is. And it all hinges on November 8th. This is the Super Bowl. This is it. This is the biggest vote. Probably one of the most important elections.
Nothing changes. Nothing changes. Remember that.
8th.
And what's your website?
Vanbrederode for Senate.com.
Perfect. Marcus.
All right, you guys, you can check me out at Marcus4Rochester.com. That's MARCUS, 4 Rochester.com. I want to do my best to fight for you and represent you and let you know what the government's doing in the state assembly, because that's where the laws are made. And right now, I could use your assistance if you want to help me knock doors, if you want to make a donation, whether it's small or large. It doesn't matter. You can do all of that on my website. I appreciate you all, and I'm going to keep the fight going because you deserve somebody that will fight for you, and I will fight for you.
Awesome. 5 weeks, guys. So hopefully, if you guys want to come back, you know, within the next 5 weeks or after you get elected, come in too. And you know, don't forget about me after you're elected. You know.
We won't forget about you.
But I appreciate all you coming in. I really do. I think, you know, if you guys are extreme, then I guess I am too, because that's a great message what you guys are showing, and I think that's something fresh and that we need here, not only here, but you know, all over the place. And we need to, you know, settle down and stop, you know, dividing so much. You know, that's.
Hey Brian, well, we got
Unity,
you.
not division.
Hey, why don't we just set up right now for Monday the 7th of November?
You're in.
Just put us all down. We'll get as many candidates as we can.
Beautiful. Yeah, definitely, please.
We'll open it up to whoever can come.
Perfect. Thank you so much. All right, guys. Thanks again. That's The Divide. Check me out next Monday and every Monday on 106.3 FM. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Let me get this off of this right here. Hey, say goodbye to them. They didn't get to see your face too much, so.
Thank you.
Marcus.
All right. Bye, everybody. It's always good.
Thanks, guys.